Shoulder your arms.
Wyatt, would you like to be a soldier like that someday?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Fort Loudon.
Scared?
We have a full day of programming planned as the weather allows, which looks like it will probably allow pretty much everything today. If you have not had a chance already, please visit our surgeon in the surgeon's ward. He'll be performing 2-for-1 wormings on the children. Please go down and see our woodworkers. They're currently working on a whole group of different things down there. The laundry ladies are doing laundry. You leave your clothes with them at your own peril. I'm hoping to have a blacksmith, though he has not yet arrived. And the soldiers, we will be doing some drilling as well as firing the muskets and firing the cannons throughout the day. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask anyone out here foolish enough to be wearing wool. Otherwise, just enjoy your visits.
Notice how they put the colored reds on. See that? The soldiers didn't have as much money as they
Wrap up like
So it's not just aging of those uniforms. They were truly
different type of dye.
Ah, I would have never known that.
The soldiers had madder roots.
The idea is not to wait for the enemy to climb through that little hole as you're firing the cannon. But the thing you have to remember is everyone here, with the exception of a couple of us, are volunteers, and so blowing them up is not the preferred method of keeping volunteers. So safety is more our idea than the way they would have done it. It was much faster when they fired, and actually most artillerists were firing on the average 2 shots a minute, so that's pretty fast. The gun itself operates quite simply. We start with the man with the thumb stall. He's going to take that piece of leather and he's going to put it over top of the touch hole in the top of the gun, effectively sealing off that end from air escaping when they ram things down the barrel. We then have the man with the screw. He's going to take that and run it down the barrel, and what he's doing is twisting that as it goes and hoping to not find anything as he goes. As you saw, it took us a little longer in the beginning because someone had stuffed a bunch of stuff down the barrel. So as he's going in there, it's grabbing a hold of anything that might be in the barrel so he can pull it out. It's also going to catch any imperfections in the barrel or divots in the barrel, so we have an idea of whether the barrel's sound or not to some degree. But mostly it's to get things out. We then have the man take the wool sponge, the sponge rammer. He's got that soaked in water. It's just a lamb's wool sponge. He's running that down there to potentially extinguish anything that might be burning from the last shot, because obviously the next thing we're going to do is shove powder down there, so you don't want flame or spark inside that barrel when you jump a whole bunch of powder inside of it. So after he does that, the monkey comes running up with the pre-made artillery cartridge. He hands it off to the man with the screw, who then puts it in the barrel. The man with the sponge rammer takes the opposite end of that rammer and actually rams that cartridge all the way to the base so that it's seated nicely against the bottom of the gun. We then have the man who is holding his thumb on there. He's going to prime it. He's going to take that copper pin. He's going to punch a hole through the top of the cartridge, through the touch hole, and pour a musket cartridge in on top of it. We then have the man with the lint stock, which is that little burning piece of rope there. Lint stock is simply hemp rope that's been soaked in saltpeter and then left to dry, so it burns very, very hot but very, very slow. And he's just going to touch it down to the gunpowder laid on top of that gun, and if everything works right, we get a really nice boom. And the bullet, or the musket ball, goes flying downrange, slaughtering Frenchmen by the hundreds. Or an occasional bass boat, whichever comes closer. So that's pretty much the functionality of the gun. Here at Fort Loudon, there were 12 great guns, or 12 of the big guns, brought over here at a pretty good expense, as well as a pretty difficult trail, because you have to remember, to get here, the next closest British outpost was 150 miles over the mountains. There were no roads. There were simply footpaths. They could bring horses down, but you couldn't bring carts or wagons down or artillery trains down. So they strapped that cannon on the back of the horse, and the horse carried it in. Now, occasionally, the cannon would slip or catch a tree and twist, breaking the horse's back and dropping it in the trail. So then you have a 500-pound cannon and a 1,200-pound horse. You have to get out of the way so you can move on. So you can imagine that originally the commander left those guns at the other fort, assuming they would never be brought here because it would just never, it wouldn't be possible. But proof is, if you pay a man enough, he will figure out a way to bring it, and that's what they did. They paid one of the traders enough money, he finally decided to try it, and was able to bring him over here in about 3.5 months. Mate, ready? 1, 2, 3. Freeze and 1. Fire! Prime and load. So normally as they would fire, they would also then continue to move forward, ever getting closer to the enemy. As you just saw us in the drill, we would normally have the bayonets on the end of the muskets, but just firing powder out of the musket, the bayonet tends to get really covered in the gunpowder residue, which also makes them both deteriorate and rust faster. So for their benefit, we don't have the bayonets on there. They also make the weapon a little more awkward to use. That's what I'm talking about.